All right, Algebra 3, Test 19, Review, Part 2, Question 12, Subsection D, Paragraph C, Subsection D3, 4.792.
Is this our last test?
No, it is not your last test. Quarterfinals will be your last test. Test 20 will be your last test. Your next test after this will be your quarterfinal.
Nice. Okay, that's what I asked. This is our last
Okay.
test of quarterfinal.
All right. Let's see. Question number 12 says 4 is less than or equal to x squared plus y minus 2 squared. Okay, and then we have y is less than 2x minus 1. I don't know if we had problems with this class, but we've seen a question like this before. This top equation, what type of graph is this going to give me? Circle and a line. Okay? So what they're looking for here is the picture.
That's why I called it. Just cut you guys.
Okay, so based upon our top row, our circle equation, the center of the circle is going to be what?
2, right? Well,
Where's the center of the circle at? 0, 2. Okay, 0, 2. Okay, because the x has nothing there. That tells me 2, so we're going to go up 2. All right, what is the radius of the circle based upon the equation?
4. Oh, no. Excuse me.
2. Okay, so 2. So it should look something like that. Okay? And because the equation is greater than the radius, that means we're going to shade outside. Okay? So it's in relation to the radius. Now the next thing we want to do is look at our line, which has a y-intercept of -1. It goes up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, okay, and it is dotted, okay? And because y is less than, okay, so you could put in 0, 0 through there. 0 is not less than -1, it's greater than, so we're going to shade this side. Okay, so it's outside and down. So that's where your shading occurs. Okay, does that make any kind of sense to you at all? All right, Lily, can I see do you have your review done? Can I see that real quick? And then you want to grade 7980. Okay, number 13. Great. Number 13. Number 13 is a determinant. A plus 2, 5, 3, A minus 3 equals 9. Okay, so you want to start off with A plus 2 times A minus 3 minus 5 times 3 equals 9. So we're going to FOIL the first part. We should get something like a squared minus a minus 6, okay, minus 15 equals 9. We're going to move everything over into a quadratic, so you can take -6 minus 15 minus 9, because you're going to move all that across. You should get a squared minus a minus 30 equals 0. Factor that down. You got a plus and minus 6 and 5. So your answers for A are what? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. That was -6 positive A. So we should get 6 and negative 5. Double checking the answer there, 6 and negative 5. Questions there before I move on? No, we're good there. Okay, the first half of this test is really tough. Like the first probably 10 questions. What's that? I think this is probably one of the tougher tests you guys have gotten up to this point. Now this, I would put this on my list because I don't think this is that hard to do. Okay. Let's see. Number 14 would be on my list. Okay. Because it's an ellipse. So with x squared over 9 plus y squared over what, 25 equals 1. That's going to tell me that x equals what? Yes and no. 3 and negative 3. Okay, and y is what? Plus and minus 5. So what they're looking for here is the picture. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, something like that. Yeah, it's not great. Okay, but that's our answer. Number 15. Yeah, how do you draw a potato mathematically? All right, now we get into Thor and Loki, right? It's a good question. So it starts off with Thor is 300 years older than Loki, right? So Thor is Loki plus 300. Okay, that's an easy equation to do. Thor is 300 years older than Loki. Thor is Loki plus 300. Okay, now we're going to have to solve for either Thor's age or Loki's age because the final question is going to be is how old is Thor going to be 200 years from now? Okay, let's see. In the next question, it says, I want to say 600 years from now, okay, Loki will be 3 times older than Thor was 500 years ago. Okay, does that make sense?
Oh, I'm getting all mixed up.
Yep. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and distribute that 3. L plus 600 equals 3. And actually what I'm going to go ahead and do is, because I want to get rid of a variable, is I'm going to go ahead and substitute in L plus 300. In there for T, for Thor. Okay? So L plus 600 equals 3L. 300 minus 500 is going to be negative 200. So we're going to get 3 times negative 200, which should be what, negative 600? Okay? Let's see. We can subtract L here. Subtract L, add 600. Make sure you don't cancel those 600s out. We get 1200 equals 2 times Loki's age. Loki is 600. Okay? Go back up to the beginning. 600 plus 300. Thor is 900. That's not my final answer because we want to know how old he's going to be 200 years from now. Thor will be 1100 years old. And still looking pretty good for his age.
Yeah. Not anymore.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but maybe not looking good, but still looking good for 1100 years old.
Yeah. Most people don't live like that.
No. You don't see any, 300-pound 1100-year-olds. 1600. 1600. So number 16. Number 16. All right. So they give you some information, and they tell you what f of x is. They tell you what g of x is. They tell you that one of them is sine squared, the other is cosine squared. And then, so what we want to do is we want to go ahead and plug sine squared in for where we need it to. 3 pi over 4 plus cosine squared 2 pi over 3. And this is interesting because it's not a plus or a minus. It's multiplication. So sine times sine squared 3 pi over 2. Okay? What do we want to do with our radians? Convert to degrees. So sine squared 3 pi over 4 is going to be 135. Cosine squared 2 pi over 3 is 120. Times sine squared 3 pi over 2, which is 270. Okay? All right, 135 degrees is 45 degrees shy of 180, so we're dealing with a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Negative 1, 1, radical 2. We want the sine of that. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so that's 1 over square root of 2 squared. Okay? 1 times 1 is 1. Radical 2 times radical 2 is 2. I get 1/2. Okay? Just run out of road. 120 degrees is 60 degrees shy. Okay, so we've got negative 1, 2, radical 3. Okay, cosine is negative 1/2 squared. Okay, so it's really going to be plus 1/4. Okay, makes sense so far. And then sine of 270. Well, 270 is right down here, and sine at that position is negative 1, right? But we're squaring it, so it's just 1, right? So we're taking 1/2 plus 1/4 times 1, so it's 1/2 plus 1/4 equals 3/4. Okay. Issues with that? Okay, a lot of places to make mistakes, but it's not really terribly hard. 17. Okay, it's a log question. You got 3 log base 2x minus 1/3 log base 2 to the 5th, or sorry, to the 8th equals 5. What do you want to do with your coefficients that are out front? Move them to the exponent position. Okay, so that's going to give me log base 2 x cubed minus log base 2. What is 8 to the 1/3? It's the cubed root of 8. 2 equals 5. Make sure, because I think some people will probably do this, that they'll go ahead and write that off as log base 2 x cubed minus 1 equals 5. Don't do that. It will not make your life easier. Okay. Instead of getting rid of the log on log base 2, we actually want to get everything into log base 2. Okay. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to write off our left-hand side as log x cubed minus log 2 over log 2 equals 5. Okay, now what can I do with my denominator? Multiply it to the other side. So that's going to give us log x cubed minus log 2 equals 5 log 2, kind of all shoved over there. Okay. Before we're done, what we want to do with the 5 is move it to the exponent position. So that's going to give us log x cubed minus log 2 equals log 2 to the 5th. 2 to the 5th is 32. Okay. Now that everything is in log base 10, okay, we can get rid of the logs, but we have to do what with the subtraction? Okay, so I get x cubed over 2 equals 32. Multiply by 2, x cubed equals 64. Cube root of 64 is 4. Okay? So breaking it down into as many steps as possible is how we get there. Questions, comments, concerns, philosophies, theories? Quandaries? Nothing, okay. Number 18. I'm going to assume nobody's going to want to do this question because it's a trig identity. Do you want me to go over it? No, I'm getting all head shakes of no. So we're going to move right on to number 19. 19. All right, 19 gives you a graph. You guys are going to look at this graph. Let's cover the easy points first. What is the center line? Negative 1. What is the amplitude from that center line up? What does it go up to? 8. Okay. What function do we want this in? Cosine. All right, and we're going to use theta. All right. Now, let's see. I don't have it. I'm not looking at it, but period. The period on it. How far does it? It should complete a period in 540 degrees, right? So if its period is 540 degrees, then to get our period change, we're going to take 360 and divide it by 540. Okay, so what is our period change? Yep. 2/3. Okay, so 2/3 is our period change. And then our phase shift, okay, you're going to look at, on a cosine, you're going to look at where it reaches its maximum, closest to the y-axis, and you should see that at 135 degrees. You see that? Okay, and it's to the right, which means in the end we're going to end up using subtraction. So we have y equals negative 1 plus 8 cosine. Now before we put in our theta, we're going to put in our period change, so 2/3 theta minus 135 degrees. That's everything in order. How do we do on that?
Everything, but I forgot
The 135. The what?
I got the phase shift.
Period change. Okay. So you kind of each forgot something different. Number 20. All right. It wants all the remaining parts. Angle A is the easiest first thing to find because you're going to take 120 plus 33, subtract that from 180, and you should get 165 degrees, correct? Okay. The rest of this, you can use... Oh, I'm sorry. What did I do? Probably. 27. Yeah, 27 degrees. I think all I did there was add a... I don't know. I don't know. I have 165 degrees on my paper. But I do. All right, 27 degrees sounds much better. All right, so if we want to find B, what we're going to do is we're going to do B over sine 33 equals 22. And I hate that they do this, but they do, over sine 120. It's law of sines, but for whatever reason I wasn't paying attention. And it's upside down, but it's still going to get you there. So you're going to do 22 sine 33 divided by sine 120. So B should equal 13.84. All right, do we get that? Okay. And A. Okay, same basic concept. A over sine 27. Use what you've got, so use 22 over sine 120. Okay, so you're going to get 22 sine 27 over sine 120. A should equal 11.53. Pretty sure.
When you look those around, it's in yours.
Just like what I've got there. Okay, so I'm going to hit stop on this. I can take you back through the slides. I haven't posted anything to the classroom yet, but I'll do that as soon as I'm done here, and you guys can take a look at the first 11 questions. Okay?